I was getting really confused here, and this is a story I flip-flopped on literally 7 or 8 times. Because there's 2 teams that I'm like, I know these are the 2 best teams in the league, but I don't know where to rank number 1. So I'm passing the question on to you guys. I'm going to present an argument, and I want you guys to tell me who you think the best team in the NFL is, because I think it is clear-cut at this point between 2 teams. And I'm going to immediately let everybody know the Patriots are not in this running, and the Saints are not in this running. No disrespect to either their Hall of Fame quarterbacks or Hall of Fame head coaches. Yes, Sean Payton is a Hall of Famer, because I know someone's going to question that. They're not in it for me, and I will explain why during these arguments. If I told you that there was a team that was top 5 in offense, top 5 in defense, 6-3 against the spread, 4th in points allowed, 11th in total in scoring offense, and is the only team that is in the top 5 for yards allowed and yards gained. That's a hell of a team. Like, that's a Super Bowl contender. That's what they look like. They do well in Vegas's eyes, they do well in the fans' eyes, and a team that's probably going to send 7 or 8 guys to the Pro Bowl. That's what Super Bowl teams look like, guys. They do. Now, here's my issue. I could throw that exact same argument, and I could throw a wrench in it by saying that there's another team that they have to compete with that is 1st in scoring, that is 7th in defensive points allowed, 7-2 against the spread, and has 1 loss on the season, and is probably going to send almost 10 guys to the Pro Bowl. Obviously, we're talking about 1 loss. The team I'm referring to in the second part of this argument is the Philadelphia Eagles. The team I'm referring to in the first part is the Minnesota Vikings. I'm very torn on this topic. I don't have an exact opinion for who I think is the best team in the NFC. Is it the Eagles? Is it the Vikings? When I went in to do my research, I was leaning more towards the Vikings, because in my mind, I was like, Minnesota, I think, has a more overall built-together roster. They're not dealing with as many injuries as the Eagles are, and they're doing this on a 3rd-string QB, which, from my fans' eyes, which I am a fan, that shows me that they have a more complete team than the Eagles, who the Eagles, despite their 8-1 record, do have injuries. They do have holes on their roster, and are being elevated by a transformative as hell QB who, if you don't think Carson Wentz is the best young QB in the NFL, you might just still be on drugs. Or your name is Skip Bayless. So I was looking at this, and as I was trying to break down, okay, well, who's better between the Vikings and the Eagles? And this is when I started going to some of the numbers I gave you guys earlier. I was like, well, the Vikings are top 5 in offense and defense, so clearly they must have the edge. Yeah, but then if you go into scoring totals, the Eagles actually, they score more points, and they give up just slightly more than the Vikings. Okay. It's like, well, what do they do against the spread? Well, the Eagles are 7-2 against the spread. Oh, well, the Vikings are 6-3. Decisions. Then I was like, okay, let's break it down even more. Let's go to my personal favorite stat, which is strength of schedule. I'm huge on strength of schedule. It is my personal belief that strength of schedule is the biggest difference in determining if a team is great, or a team is good, or if a team is so-so, or if a team is just smoke and mirrors and patching its way through its season. The Minnesota Vikings, the teams they have played are a combined 50-50. The Philadelphia Eagles teams they've played, combined record, is 40-60. Clearly the edge, Vikings, right? Not so fast. The Vikings have played 6 teams that are 500 or better. They're 4-2. The Eagles have played 3 teams 500 or better, 2-1. You'd say, oh, well, the Vikings, they've played more teams that are more better and more competitive and more balanced teams than the Eagles have. Yes, but the Eagles also can't necessarily be held accountable for the schedule completely, and they're winning at the same percentage that the Vikings are. Break it down even more. The Vikings are 3-1 against winning teams. The Eagles are 1-1. Now, we're strength of schedule, and everything has a yeah, but, right? And as much as I love strength of schedule, it does have a yeah, but. And if you look at the Eagles' schedule, they've played the Cowboys, who was supposed to be a much better team. They handled Carolina. They've handled Washington, who was a playoff team. They've handled the Chargers, who might be the best team in the AFC West right now, handled Arizona, who was supposed to be better than what they are, lost to Kansas City. You could make a case that, well, yes, the Eagles' record, Eagles' strength of schedule is worse currently than Minnesota's. The Eagles have pushed some of their teams down in terms of strength of schedule, because a lot of the teams that aren't living up to potential, the Chargers are 4-6. Well, if they beat the Eagles, they're 500. New York doesn't count. New York is trash. The Cardinals are 4-6. Well, if they beat the Eagles, they're 5-5. Denver's 3-7. Yeah, we're not gonna talk about that. Dallas is 5-5. Well, if they've played the Eagles twice. I'm sorry, no, Washington played the Eagles twice. Dallas has played the Eagles, and they're 5-5. Well, they beat the Eagles, they're 6-4, and they're looking like they're in contention. Like, there's a very strong case to be made that the Eagles are pushing down their own strength of schedule because they're that good. And this is where I got so confused, and like I said, I'm passing this question on to you guys because I don't know anymore. If you look at the Vikings schedule, the Vikings have the Saints who are 8-2 on that schedule, the Steelers who are 8-2, and those are their first two games, right? 1-1 and 1-1 against two 8-2 teams. That's something to be proud about. But then you have the Bucks who are 4-6 and really could be worse. The Lions who are 6-4 and no one thinks are that good. The Bears who are 3-7, who are probably the best bad team in football if you look at their against the spread. You have the Packers who in that game was the game Aaron Rodgers got hurt. You have the Ravens, who are inconsistent as all hell on offense, but they've posted 3 shutouts. The Redskins, who are 4-6, like you said, could be better. And then they just handled the Rams. And to make these teams even more comparable, and this is crazy, I was going down the schedule, and the Vikings played the Browns. And I'm like, okay, you have the 0-10 Cleveland Browns. That throws a huge wrench into the overall 50-50 record that the Vikings played, right? I could easily say, oh, this means the Vikings clearly have it, because if you didn't have the Browns in there, their teams would be 50-40, right? Throw a 500 team in there, and it looks better. Oh, but then you consider the Eagles played San Francisco, who's 1-9, and the Giants, who are 2-8. Oh. And I can't even I can't even say that, oh, that qualifies them now. They've clearly played, or the Vikings have clearly played the better schedule, because the Eagles have played 2 of the 3 worst teams in the league. Because, like I said, the Vikings have the Bears, who, despite being really well against the spread, are still a 3-7 team. They're the 4 worst teams in the league. Guys, I don't know what to say. Like, this is crazy to me. The question, I'm passing it on to you. Let me know. Who is the best team in the NFC? Is it the Eagles? Is it the Vikings? Because I don't fucking know no more. And if you saw or heard anything that you like, anything that you'd like to talk about, like I've always said, my channel is for conversation. If you'd like to add to the conversation, please leave a comment down below. And I hope to see you guys back here on Friday.